Yes, I think Dave's right. That should unfortunately be the very first thing we should chat about. Let's turn off our cell phones, except for photographs and social media. But that can be soundproof, right?
Soundproof.
Yeah, totally. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim McCarthy. I'm one of the members of High Dune Craft Cooperative. We really appreciate you coming tonight, and what a turnout, what a turnout. I'm going to tell you briefly what the order is for this evening, so you can get that down, and then I'll introduce our guests. Tonight will be, first will be Kamani from Massachusetts Recreational Consumers Council, and then our guests from Regulate Cape, which is Adam and Spencer. And then the High Dune Craft Cooperative, each of the farms will get up and explain who they are and what we're about. And then we'll give you a little informational seed to sale on exactly how the process will happen here in Truro. And then it'll be open to questions. Thank you again. Kamani Jefferson, please.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. Cape Cod is gorgeous. So a little bit of background on us. I'm with the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council. We are a nonprofit of 501c4 based in Cambridge, but we travel across the state. Speak up. Use the mic. I'll use the mic. So I'll start again. My name is Kamani Jefferson. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm the registered lobbyist with the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council. We are a 501c4 nonprofit based in Cambridge, but we travel the state, and we represent the consumers at the state and local level. Our mission is to ensure the safety of the recreational adult consumers by bridging the gap between communities, businesses, and local legislators. Prior to this, all of our co-founders and many of our volunteers were a part of the campaign, Question 4, to legalize, and we knew more community outreach was needed, and more education was needed. So we formed that right after the ballot at the end of 2016. And we accomplish our mission in 2 ways. Education is probably the most important part of legalization. I brought some pamphlets, Consumer Responsibility Massachusetts, and what that is just an educational campaign that lets people know their rights, how much you can grow, how much you can possess. You grow 6 plants per person, 12 plants per household. You're allowed to carry up to 1 ounce on you outside of your home, 10 ounces in your home as long as it's locked, plus anything you home grow. And we also just go over some quick tidbits about the community host agreement, some of the criminal charges, and just some of the terminology around licensing. So craft marijuana cooperative, micro businesses. We understand that so much information being thrown out on a weekly basis. We try to synthesize that. We also, since we're based in the Boston area, we record all the Cannabis Control Commission meetings. They're on our Facebook Live. And we also have been traveling the state and getting a lot of the local level stuff. We track almost every town, so we've been watching what's going on here in the Cape and other towns and following moratoriums and bans and to learn from what they're doing and try to apply that here or across the state. So we believe education is super important. We also, community, we have a huge community component of what we do, and we are either a part of a lot of community events. We were at NECAN a couple weeks ago, maybe Extravaganza, Northampton on 421, and we also form our own events. We're having an event called Community Conversations in Cambridge on the 15th with Rep. Mike Conley, one of our reps. And again, similar to this, just information sessions so people can come out and learn. We believe education and informed consumers make strong industries, and we've noticed that some of the politicians may not have our best interest because they don't understand cannabis, and some of the cannabis businesses may not have the consumer interest. We've just been hearing rumors of not the best quality products out, and so we knew as consumers that we needed to represent ourselves coming to the table. So we bring the consumer experience to this industry, and we remind folks that there's no industry without us, and so it's very important that the community, consumers, patients, anyone whose daily life is involved with this plant is also at the table when important decisions like zoning, local ordinances, when those things are happening, that they're involved. So that's just a little background on us. I also have a couple of copies of the guidance for municipalities. The Cannabis Control Commission, they have a meeting every Tuesday that we Facebook Live. Our Facebook, you just Google our name, Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council, they'll come right up. And they also been putting out a lot of public documents just to try to help people like yourselves or some of the applicants who are going after licenses. And so it's been very useful because we know not everyone can show up to all these meetings at once. So if you just need help just disseminating, going through the information, there's a lot of documentation on the Cannabis Control Commission's website. And their website is, it's mass-cannabis-control.com. If you Google Cannabis Control Commission, go to their website, go to their public documents, you can scroll through and just get an idea of what's going on. So we believe before you can really make any major decisions on zoning, on where the community is going to move forward, just please try to understand some of the regulations that recently came out. The statute before it, in July, there were some major changes when they added co-ops, they added micro businesses. There's been changes happening and it's hard to keep up, but the commission now has a website and they've been putting out public documents, so you can just kind of read through it and just to get an understanding. A big important thing to us is the community. Again, I like to really hone in on that. We've noticed that some towns that are being proactive about this have been taking some good community approaches. We were in Southwick at the end of 2017, and we helped one of our consumer advocates, Ryan Pease. He was on there was a marijuana zoning committee, a committee specifically for zoning, and he did a lot of good work. And it sounds like that committee is ongoing even after they do the zoning. So I think like a board or a committee dedicated to specifically cannabis, ongoing. And we've seen this also in other states like Colorado. I know Boulder has like a panel just for how to deal with cannabis. I think that's a really useful practice. So you don't have to decide right now because you feel like you're rushed. It could be an ongoing thing. After you decided on zoning, and you can still have that feedback with community members. And then also just continue doing things like this. In the license, any applicant needs to have a community outreach meeting. And in that community outreach meeting, they have to give ample time, 7 days prior, put it in like a public newspaper, have it in a place like a library where people can come out and get to know the applicant. And that's very important to us. Recently in Cambridge is in the similar position, and they're trying to move forward, and they're feeling some pressure from some of the dispensaries that are already there. And there was an instance, one of the dispensaries had pesticide and they've had to shut down. And so I testified saying I don't want to feel rushed by a marijuana establishment that may not be selling the best thing just because they had enough money to open medical and convert. So community outreach is very important to consumers, and all the people in the town should get to know the applicant before they move forward. So, and in the regulations, the commission did a really good job of making sure the town has to get to know the applicant before they can get licensed. And then also with the host community agreements, that's still in there, and everyone can be present at those meetings before they move forward. So community is super important to us. I personally think that any applicant who comes into town should have a lot of community outreach meetings just to really get to know the town, as many as it takes, so that the community feels okay with the applicant. And in terms of just education in general, any dispensary or any retailer, any type of establishment who comes in should also be a part of the ongoing education. So some of that tax funds that is made in Truro can go towards education, or can go towards maybe youth prevention. Anyone who sets up should be a part of educating and making sure that this is a smooth rollout. So I'm very excited about co-ops, because co-ops have one of the attributes of a co-op is concern for community. So any co-op that sets up in Truro would kind of have to make sure the community's okay because it would be part of their bylaws. So I'm very happy that co-ops didn't make it to the final regulations because it is a very community-oriented type of business. So I'm very excited to see, to be here and supporting a co-op here in Truro. So if you guys have any questions, I can talk forever.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
You were just talking about it, in fact, I'm sorry. I have memory lapses. I just had another one.
The community host. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll have plenty of time if you have more questions later.
Yeah, after this, I can pass you guys out some pamphlets. I brought a bunch, and if you guys have any questions, I have my business card. And you can follow us on Facebook. It's Mass Rec Council, or if you do Instagram or Twitter, it's MA Consumers. You can come up to me as well, and I can give you my personal information. But thank you so much. Education really, again, is the most important part of all this because I think that's where a lot of the misinformation happens, especially we're going from criminalization to just legalization. So I think there's some information that is needed. So thank you guys again for having me. Really appreciate it.
Please, yeah, Spencer and Adam from Regulate Cape.
Thank you. So Adam just needs to sit up for a second, so I'll just do a quick little introduction while he does. I apologize. So we're a group, we're a community-based group on the Cape. Myself personally, I grew up in the Cape, went to Nauset High School. My family still owns a motel in Orleans. My mom was a teacher at Nauset for 30 years. My family's actually called the Cape home since the mid-1600s. Actually, you got some roads here with our name on it, so we also proud to say that Truro was part of our world. Sadly, though, I drove an hour to get here, and I'm still on the Cape, so I drove from Sandwich. My wife and two daughters there, and Adam lives in Mashpee. We woke up one day in November 2016 in a new world, a world that we can actually call a legalized world. And we said to ourselves, what are we going to do with that? What's the Cape going to do with that? So selfishly, we always joke, we aren't called Regulate Massachusetts, we're called Regulate Cape 5. Because this is where we live, this is where I grew up, and in my mind, I can be selfish, and we can be selfish, and say, we want reasonable access for the Cape, for consumers. What does reasonable access mean? Well, it's very simple. It means that from the bridge, from tip to stern, all the way to P-Town, sorry islands, but we're just focusing right now on kind of the mainland Cape, that there should be reasonable access, that there can't just be access in Provincetown or in Wellfleet or in Truro. There needs to be reasonable access from the bridge all the way across. So the first thing that we did as a group is try to figure out what that really looks like. And if I could jump for a second, we are the residents, we are the business people. We actually have a law enforcement officer, former law enforcement officer, because obviously when he was actually on duty, he couldn't really speak his opinion. He now can. I'm going to introduce him in a few minutes. He's actually in Washington State as we speak, touring around a couple dispensaries, trying to educate himself even more, which is pretty cool. We have local government officials, former local government officials. Rick Elrick, I don't know if anyone knows Richard from Barnstable, three-term Barnstable Town Councilor, which is the max you can actually serve. And so, yes, it's all about tax and regulated cannabis market, but we're here today to actually talk about cultivation and farming. Because if we want to fulfill our mission of reasonable access, that also means that we have to fulfill an obligation for supply. And that's what, in our minds, tonight is all about. So we're not really going to talk about retail tonight. In our minds, we're here to talk about cultivation and safe supply. Because we know the demand is there. We know the customers are going to be here this summer. And so we want to make sure that every group who feels the same way we do, who shares the same mission as we do, are built and prepared and ready, first movers, to ensure that there is safe supply. So that's why we're really here tonight. Something that we're very proud of, one of our first big moves was in Brewster, where, I don't know if any of you were following that, but half the town, it was really kind of split in 2016. But we really felt as part of our reasonable access that there really should be access there if the people wanted it, and the people said yes, they do. So we're very, very, very proud of that. We've been going around different parts of the Cape talking about why there should be safe access, and we just think it's very important to really promote that. Detective Robert Brunn joined us a few months ago. He just called us up out of the blue and said, you know, I've worked in this industry as a, well, I say, you know, in the law enforcement sector, I should say, not the industry, for over 40 years.
They're criminalizing.
Right. So he reached out to us and he said, I have opinions about this. We said, all right, well, let's get together. And we were blown away by what he thought. And so if I could, if you humor me, I just want to read you a letter that he sent a couple weeks ago to the Barnstable Town Council, who we met with a few weeks ago. And again, he apologized that he's not here, but he really is in Seattle, and we'll show you some pictures. He said, I've been a Cape Cod resident for 46 years. 32 of those I spent as Sandwich Police Detective, where I served as a school resource officer for 5 years and a court prosecutor for 9. During that time, I managed the drug evidence, which resulted in hundreds of drug prosecutions. I speak from experience when I tell you drugs are rampant on the Cape. I've personally seen opioids take hold of our communities and ruin lives. Street dealers are motivated only by money. So they often lace their products with substances that harm people and also allow them to charge more and get people addicted faster. Now, obviously, these are his opinions, but that falls into, when he told us that, we said, okay, maybe not in every town, but one time is too many, and we would agree with that. My biggest fear, he says, for cannabis is someone acquiring it from these street dealers and it's laced with something that gets people addicted. This may not seem like a mainstream occurrence, but even he says it's once is too much. Cannabis is not killing people. Opioids and other drugs are killing people. Hyannis and Yarmouth both have documented instances of street dealers lacing cannabis with fentanyl. We didn't deal with this 20 years ago at Nauset High School. That stuff didn't exist. Those concerns, those scares didn't exist. So what we're trying to educate people about in our group is why, whether it's supply and safe access, that's got to be the #1 priority for every town official and any citizen who cares about what our citizens are going to be consuming, because they will be consuming. I've seen this happen before with ecstasy, he goes on to say, and I see it happening with cannabis now. It's a big problem. I decided to retire after seeing my last suicide of opioids. I cherish life too much to have to see that on a daily basis. With that said, our community finally has an opportunity to take real control. I've gone to Washington, he's there now. I've gone to Colorado. One thing I don't see is a shop on every corner. There were plenty of facilities, but they weren't just retail. They were all types. Our towns have the control, what and where. And so if they get ahead of it, they want a few storefronts, they can regulate it that way, or other types of businesses. So there's Bob. We call him Officer Bob. He's standing in front, and this was something that, it was completely random. Obviously, we said, hey, are you going to be here for this event? He said, I'm sorry, I'll be there. And this is just what he sent me. Look, no security issues, no traffic, and no undesirables. I thought that was very accomplished of him. And I just said, love it, and I love the quote. So, bam, we'll use it. So this is something that it takes someone, obviously being retired, to speak his mind, to speak his opinion, and we really appreciate him joining up. So I wanted to bring on Adam Higgins, one of the co-founders, to walk you through what really kind of lit our fire about this issue, and what really kind of got us going and sparked us and said we really have to work towards smart and safe access, and obviously smart and safe zoning for cannabis on Cape Cod.
Thanks, Spence. I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing the same shirt as in that previous article I was looking at. I'm also, very jealous of Spencer's intro, 12th generation Cape Codder. I haven't been here that long. I grew up on the other side of the canal in Wareham. I went down south and for entrepreneurial adventures after college. Ended up building a totally different coastal community that had a bunch of problems, and I spent 10 years down there and started 501c3s and really fast forwarded, brought this community from, in 2006 when we started, that was the last stabbing in their central business district, their beach boardwalk. And fast forward to 2012, after scheduling over 80,000 volunteer hours, petitioning the state for room occupancy tax money to bring the entertainment back to town. 2012, Food and Wine ranked it number 4, best food, best boardwalk food in the country, and then we got a bunch of other accolades from there. I returned back up here to Mashpee and realized that we were about to legalize recreational cannabis, which so I dove into, research, just, trying to figure out, what is going on. And, and that's how we kind of got here. Spence and I, have only known each other for 4 years. We found each other, mutual interests, mutual friends, birds of a feather. And this was kind of what we put together. We compiled the research. This was, the good, the bad, the ugly. We sent this to, all administrations across the Cape, all the leaders. It, actually was kind of the catalyst for us, getting into these conversations with town administration, because it was an eye-opener. And everyone likes a framework, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. The good, the smart medical; the bad, the not so smart medical; the ugly, the black market. This is good medical. This is clear, concise packaging, instructions, ingredients, warning, retail-ready packaging, tamper-resistant sealing, attractive branding. And unfortunately, these are, few and far between examples. This is net on the, in Boston, which is, I would say, one of the larger ones. The bad is the not so smart medical. I understand that a syringe might be a good delivery system for a cannabis concentrate, but that's the last, thing I want to see on the side of the road. We already got the mini bottles. That I would hate to see that, right? And it's just the bad message, and just not as controllable. Like right down here, these two items, they're the same amount of THC, but one is made for single dosing, one is hard to understand. So it's just there's a lot of different things going on out there. And this is the ugly. This is the black market all over. They're filling the void. What's crazy is, because it's been decriminalized, people are coming, out of state. People are just shipping things in. Anything they can do. Marsh's Medibles is supplying the entire state. And from what I've heard, it's just some folks from Colorado coming in here, bringing the concentrates, and if you check out some of the images of any of the arrests and stuff, you'll often see Marsh's Medibles. But it ranges. It ranges. From, you can see right here, this is, products from California being shipped in right there. I'm sure that's safe, but did our state benefit from any of that? No, definitely not.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that stuff?
Oh yeah, so I went and got my medical card, and so I could buy from legal and illegal sources. So this was actually an online delivery service. So I'll get into some of the sources, but the internet is the friend of the black market for sure. Because there isn't legal local means that they'll fill the void. And then sure, this looks safe, but this stuff, this was delivered to my house. These gummy bears are Marsh's Medibles, but look at these things. They're melting. I don't know what's in here. This is, Honda Civic rolled up to my house. This is what they delivered. It was not the best transaction either, but, oh, sorry.
Can towns ban that kind of stuff? If we have a dispensary, can we say, no gummy bears? That seems like a scary.
I advocate.
CCC already has. In the regulations, there can be no gummy bears, no animals, no sports people.
Yeah.
In the regulations, it's very
Brought
specific.
from other places.
Exactly. These are black market stuff that you're showing you here. This is the problem.
Black market is the illicit market.
The illicit market, sorry.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that a few times, so I do apologize. So, the illicit market, tier 1, criminal control. This is where, we're, running the risk of, fentanyl-laced products. These are headlines right here on the Cape. This is things that, Detective Broom, Officer Bob brought up. But this is right over here in Brockton. But I mean, it's scary stuff. I mean, because there's the motivation it's the same as with anything else. I mean, they just want to provide the cheapest high possible, you know, for the highest price. So I mean, if they, you know, take a, you know, crappy batch of cannabis and throw some fentanyl on it, people are going to think it's awesome at first until, you know, people start dying. You know, and so here's a basket of goods, you know, another photo from there, but that's all black market right there, just, you know.
Illicit market?
Illicit market. Sorry, illicit market, tier 2, you know, big business. This is really big business for these guys. You know, and this was kind of the timeline we saw after decriminalization. You know, basically, I watched this all bud listing, which is a public listing of, you know, dispensaries, just blow up. It went from like, you know, the legal ones to like over 100, just everywhere. You know, everybody's getting in it. You know, and they, you know, shut that down. You know, I mean, the people that were in the legal business, you know, talked to all bud and said, you got to take, you know, this is hurting the market. You take that down. Great. So they popped up again on a different service, Where's Weed? You know, and I don't have a Truro one because they again advocated. They got, you know, this is a real business. Where's Weed? These are companies that are, you know, they're legal companies, so they don't want to do business with, you know, illicit companies, but they get tricked, whatever. But this has been taken down. But then there's Craigslist, you know, and they've gotten a little bit better here about policing this. So I've seen this go away. But as they've gone away, now it's worse than ever because now they've moved to web properties they own, and they can't shut these down because there is no, you know, this is just the internet. They can set up an e-commerce site, and I mean, we're gonna have, you know, you'd have to get some federal interest to really police these folks, but you know, this is Northern Herb. This is a Boston delivery service. They'll deliver as far south as Kingston. And they'll meet you there, you know, and if you can't get to Kingston, they'll mail it to you. Just give them a debit card. You can do it all, transact this all online. Shopping cart, you know, just as anyone would expect buying anything else. You know, California Honey, Golani, these are out-of-state brands. This is stuff flowing in from out of state because I was just in San Francisco. The price is half as much as it is here. So you could buy it legally there and then bring it here and still make a tidy profit because it's, you know, and they're marking it up about 3 times. So they have about, you know, they have a healthy margin on these from what I saw, you know, because in California the prices drop so low. So that's the motivation. You know, here's another Cannabis crew. They're probably the biggest, you know, illicit delivery service on the Cape. You know, fortunately some of these, at least, you know, Prop 4 Gourmet, I have to at least think it's an in-state, you know, illicit company that maybe wants to go legal in the future. So they're less concerning to me, but you know, ultimately, this still is a conduit for all the illicit market. You know, and it hurts small business, right? Like here is, you know, here is a current listing on Weed Maps, you know, and you can see tip to stern. I mean, this In Good Health is laying claim on the Cape, so we can, you know, we can keep the local businesses out and let the off-Cape, out-of-state illicit market come in. They're coming regardless. So. You know, we have a choice. Do we want, you know, our friends and neighbors to be the ones, you know, controlling this, and you go down the street, have a conversation, look someone in the eye, or do you want it to be these people that exist behind, you know, web properties or, you know, off Cape in some other facility? Or, I mean, I give it to In Good Health. They are covering the entire state in the delivery network, but I mean, this is bad for small business. This is bad for us on the Cape because they're ahead of us. So yeah, I mean, vote yes for small business, vote no on Article 21. It's really that simple. Any questions on this portion? All right, so why vote no on 21? Well, Truro already has the control it needs. There's the control at the state level that they've already been given, but then there's, you know, 2 big reasons here, right? Temporary ban equals permanent damage. Just as I said, you know, Prohibition didn't work, we can't keep this out, the sales are going to transact, you can only decide now who is going to make that transaction, who is going to benefit, you know, and this is an opportunity to, you know, be the first mover, get in first, or you can, you know, be last and let the others get in first and hobble the small business forever. You know, and again, as far as the, you know, what towns, they have everything they need to regulate. At the state level, they've been given robust control over the location, time, and manner. I mean, that's a big swath of control. I mean, in reality, let's be real, if you didn't want to do business with someone, you restrict their hours down so much that they just wouldn't come in, right? So if you want to keep, so there's lots of control here. Planning boards and finance committees, these things are already in place. It's not like new committees, these are already in place and they know how to zone. There's no new zoning coming from the Cannabis Control Commission. If anyone's saying, oh, we're waiting for more instruction, we're waiting how this goes, there's no point. There's no more guidance coming. It's on the local municipalities to solve this, to take control. It's time to zone. Brewster did it, so can Truro. And look, you can kind of just use this as a starting framework. I mean, this is a zoning table, defining where, and none of this is zoned in. S means special permit. This means like, yeah, maybe you come hat in hand. In this case, the special, the planning board is the special permit granting authority. So there's this whole other layer of protection here. So we can sit here, we can bring up a map. Again, this is Brewster, I'm sorry, but again, Truro can sit down and say, man, all right, where do we want it? Where can we, and I think there's a big opportunity if you look at, what Brewster did, and I apologize, their zoning bylaws are not, the ones that are confirmed are not public, so I wasn't able to pull out the screenshots that would, or the excerpts that would, show you how they chose to give existing businesses preferential treatment. So, here's an opportunity where like, okay, yeah, that zoning map, I know there may be farms that are, around and maybe in a zone you don't want to allow it. Okay, well, you can just simply put in the zoning, an existing farm is allowed this. You could approach it, be the cap, right? Caps could be put on new farms. Existing farms have the cap allowed by the state. The town puts a special, canopy cap, on new farms. I mean, just an idea. Like, and these are the things that are in control. And then beyond this, as I mentioned before, there's two extra protection layers. First big one is the special permit granting authority. As I described in my previous slide, I spent a lot of time down there. They were called conditional use permits, and it's literally you just go hat in hand. Please approve me. Here's my plan. And if they don't want to, they don't. And I mean, it's as simple as that. So there's, and in Brewster, it's the planning board. Truro could set up a special committee. It's really up to Truro. Then the extra layer of protection too, which I thought was the previous question maybe, was around these community host agreements. So even, like right here, here's where a little bit, what I could get, this was from the draft regulations, because so there was still some good stuff in there. But here's where they, define the special permit granting authority to the planning board. And then look, an approved host agreement shall be required prior to the granting of any special permit. So additional layer of, you have to establish this host agreement. And again, to Kamadi's point, it's like, don't you want to have those agreements with your friends and neighbors, the people that will live up to them, the people that, benefit to give extra money to the town, or, that extra 3%, they see it in their schools, their children go to those schools, versus someone who is just going to be looking for an opportunity to violate that contract. And that's, so, you want it to be mutually beneficial. And if I had the approved draft regulations, you'd be blown away at the special caveats they put in there to basically, they allowed the existing RMD, uncapped recreational, he could open as many retail places as he wants in Brewster. And so, I mean, it was very specific. So you could use that as a model of, I'd say that wasn't so great, but, do something similar to really make sure that the, local farms, the existing businesses, are given this, the adequate opportunity to take advantage of this. Because yeah, as Connie pointed out, the state has set this all up to favor small business. So again, yeah, why vote no on 21? Truro already has the control it needs. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I'm going to be anti the group here. You're providing fake news. I'm on the Board of Selectmen. Truro has no controls now. We have the Zoning Board of Appeals and we have the Planning Board. And what I want everybody in the audience to be aware of, I have no objection to this business happening going forward. But what people should be aware of is, because we have no regulations right now, zero, any cooperative or businesses that are allowed to operate before those the regulations are put in place are forever grandfathered, so they would be subject to no future regulations.
We'll start with what was the fake news part?
Then you said Truro has...
The control it
regulations.
is. Right, it has, they have
no-
finance committees and they have planning boards.
Right, but they haven't,
Right.
they have not addressed this issue.
And I would say shame on them because, you know, this was a yes town, was it not?
It is a yes town, but shame on you for making a blanket
And I definitely do not try to sit here and try to tell Truro what to do. All that was an example of what Brewster did.
Well,
you know.
we're not Brewster, and maybe we'll do the same thing, but don't tell people that we have regulations which don't exist.
I've never said that. I would just respectfully say, please don't say fake news. I mean, I'm happy to address your concerns. The controls, yes, there's the state that has given broad, you know, control.
I'm aware of that. There are over
Okay.
100 pages of regulations. I've read about 80 so far.
So, yeah. It's time to zone. So you got to create those
Absolutely
controls.
right.
Exactly. So that's what we're saying. It's time to zone. It's time to create those regulations because there's no new guidance coming from the state level. It's up to Truro to create those regulations. So I apologize if, you know, it came across as I was saying that those existed. They do not. And that's why, you know, time is of the essence. It's time to zone right now. Absolutely, for the concerns that you raised.
To Adam's point, if someone came before Truro zones and then you guys do zone, they wouldn't be compliant, and that would just be a waste of time and money for them to come and set up before Truro puts its zoning in place. So I don't think it would be in the best interest of anyone who's looking to set up in Truro to just set up without the community thumbs up before they spend all this money. If that helps.
Any other questions?
Is there any, support offered by the state government, or is every town on its own trying to figure it out themselves?
That has been, every town is on their own for the most part. I mean, that is the way to think about it. Because, the state, you know, is not issuing any new guidance. They did put out recently a handbook.
There's a municipal guidance
Yeah, I have a
document.
couple,
If you go to the Cannabis Control Commission website, you go under documents and you look at municipal guidance, it should be right there.
Yeah. So there's that, and that's them, you know, originally they said they weren't gonna give any guidance because everyone was asking for it. They put out this helpful document, and, you know, but and again, they said that's all they're gonna give. So, I mean, they did, yep.
So you guys that we've seen tonight, is that it? I mean, in terms of offense against the defense of the towns? I mean, you go around and visit towns, is there any other guys like you out there shaking the bushes?
Well, so, we didn't actually set about, wake up one day and said, hey, we'd really like to become political advocates. We actually started Cannabis Cape Cod, which was, we were going to just start with the industry first, then we realized, oh my Lord, like, the Cape's about to ban everything. And so we switched gears to be like, okay, we'll regulate Cape Cod, both websites exist still, but, yes, sir.
So you made a pretty important point in the beginning about the harm caused by interest, the collectives or whatnot, being delayed in implementing this stuff. And I think that could probably bear out pretty easily. And there's also the question of protecting the town's right to regulate things within, the common good. My question is there an instrument, or has this kind of resistance been encountered? And how has it played out? And what it suggests to me, is there a way of allowing vetted interests like these to move forward with an agreement with the town, a host agreement, that has some sort of provisional nature to it that would allow them to move forward, not be harmed, seemingly without necessary cause, but allow them to go forward, but also protect the town in the sense it's provisional. They aren't, the worry about them being grandfathered in to some unregulated system, which, wouldn't be as much of a concern for townspeople. I think if you could come up with that, you might have something here in Truro that would satisfy the boards and the townspeople at town.
Yeah, I think that is totally achievable.
But is there an instrument for doing a provisional thing? That's probably more of a question for the town staff, but.
yeah, I'm not a zoning expert, and I'm also, I'm not a resident of Truro, so I'm uncomfortable really, suggesting.
More
any
questions
solution.
to the group.
Yeah, that's what I was
Board
thinking.
members here, maybe they could answer.
Yeah.
It seems like there'd be a compromise,
I don't have an answer for that, but I have a question. The moratorium that's being proposed until November, what's the date?
15th.
November something. When you say have to act now, at what point does Bob's concern was that business goes in right away? What is right away? What is the time that the zoning or the town has to come up with whatever type of layout of this?
Yeah,
That can happen. I mean, can a retail establishment pop up tomorrow?
No.
So what is the date that this kind of regulation, if you will,
July,
has to go into?
they'll start issuing licenses by June 1st, and
June
then July 1st is when they're allowed to legally open. in
So
the
there is
state. But
time.
they still would have to.
My point is, there is time to get something done before, without having to do a moratorium.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they still have to go through a number of iterations, conversations with the town leadership in addition to everything that Kamani just said. So there's even more, just in terms of just dialogue, that they have to do in order to move even a conversation forward.
You don't get a license without the community.
Exactly. So you have that, you always have that layer of protection. And then, and Brewster felt rushed to zone as well. And that's why, you see all these S's. There's no, permanent approved, like, hey, this zone is good. It's everything goes through a special permit. So, right off, I would look to that instrument, to add, to be able to zone quickly and, and be able to explore the industry provisionally.
Yeah, I just want to stress that host community agreement. I think that that's what everyone's not understanding here. Yes, Truro indeed needs to get regulation associated with zoning, by all means. But there's no way any license will be issued by the state of Massachusetts to any cannabis business before it already has a host community agreement. There's no town that's going to make that agreement unless they feel secure in what they're doing. What we're talking about is the moratorium impedes us from a calendar standpoint. The sooner the Truro institutes and negotiates these zones, the sooner we can get our host community agreement, the sooner we can apply for our license and get it approved. For us, it's really not a question about is there enough time or will for us to negotiate with the town sensible zoning. Of course we want that. We don't want the onus of a fear-based approach, which the moratorium is really about. Education is the only way to deal with fear. So work with us. Let's vote no on the moratorium and vote yes for jobs in Truro with people you know.
I think that's good.
I think if the
Tim, why don't you
planning
come on up?
board and the selectmen put their energy towards developing the zoning rather than trying to impose a moratorium, Truro would be way better off. It would also be better if the members of the selectmen, board, and the planning would read the regulations. That would be a good start. I'd just like to say that.
Please.
And one thing I think a lot of people are unclear, and I don't know if we covered it earlier, is that the only place that the public will interact with a cannabis business is at the dispensaries. So the growing and the manufacturing and the infusing, all of those will be self-contained, and they are not allowed to interact with the public and have public sale.
No access to that.
It's only the dispensaries that are allowed to have the public in and out. So people think of this model of the liquor store. That's wrong. You can't even walk in the door unless you're 21 and over. So then they bring you in, and you're not allowed, you're very limited signage outside. So there's no big like, we here, none of that goes on. It's very limited in the dispensary, and then the growers and the infused products and all the other ancillary services, all those places have minimal signage, if any, and they're not allowed to interact with the public. So you won't have public in and out. So it's something to think about with zoning, because you may not want to have those manufacturing and growing right on your main strip. you might want to have those maybe tucked away in other places. That's why the special permit might be a better idea than, you know, what happened in Provincetown where it got all industrial strip, which you may not want to locate all of your marijuana facilities in one place because they're not all the same. I just wanted to put forward that to people.
Great. I want to add one quick point, just because you brought up the signage issue. In the regulations, okay, a retail dispensary will be allowed to have signage. It'll be bound by whatever sign laws Truro has. So they're not gonna be able to go above whatever square footage and inches per letter, all that kind of stuff. The other industries, the cultivators, the manufacturers, the testing facilities are not permitted by law to have signs. So if signage is the issue or one of the concerns, the state regulations have already covered that. We're not allowed to have signs on our trucks. We're not allowed to have signs on our greenhouses. We're not allowed to have signs anywhere. It's totally against the rules, okay? This industry is so highly regulated that if you spend the time to read the regulations, and I do apologize that it's over 100 pages, but if you have a concern, read it 10 times. Highlight everything. Let's get discussion going about your highlighted concerns. That's why we're here today. Do we have to have this meeting? No. We did this because we want to be transparent. So we're going to introduce who we are.
Yes.
And then
Please.
we will begin our discussion. And let's, you know, pick away at it as we go.
My fabulous business partner, Dave DeWitt. We are Outer Cape Cannabis Connection. Member High Dune Craft Cooperative.
We're also members of the High Dune Craft Cooperative. Drake Cook, John Hopkins, and Debbie Hopkins. And we're Pure Joy Farm. You've seen us at the farmers markets. We want to continue seeing you at the farmers markets. And also add this to one of our crops for our wholesale.
I just want to say that all of us that are the little farmers that have been bringing the vegetables to the market for the past 6 years, I believe it's 6 years, have really helped build up the farmers market and the Labor Day celebration of farming. We're committed to farming, and we are growing vegetables, and we're going to continue to grow vegetables. But let me tell you, there's no money in vegetables. And if you want to keep Truro rural, this is the best policy for a rural. And, also, all of us employ people. We're looking to employ more people, you know, because marijuana is very labor intensive. It's more so than vegetables.
You guys want to come up?
I'm sorry.
My name is Arthur Bosworth.
I'm Stephanie Ryan.
And we are out there grown. We have a small farm also, and we're very excited about the opportunity that the state of Massachusetts has provided for small farms to enter this new industry.
Hi, I'm Annie McDonald, and I am a sole proprietor to a very small farm in Wellfleet. So we already have a community host agreement, and I'm already going to be able to technically do my thing, but I'm falling under the license of my co-op because I'm fortunate enough to have a great support team here, and it's the moratorium in Truro is really hindering me as a farmer in Wellfleet to move forward. I don't have any way of having a set scheduled job with a 9-month-old baby, and so this way I can have people come when there's time for them to come and help me take care of him so I can work on my property. I don't plan on stop growing vegetables. I'm also a farmer and do the markets, and I've been doing that since the Wellfleet market started. And I want to continue to grow organic food. I love our group. We've decided that every single product that we'll produce is going to be grown organically, which is the best thing for our soil and our water here on the Cape, where we have our sole source aquifer, which we were already trying to protect in so many other ways. So I feel like for business-wise, we just really want to be able to move forward and keep growing vegetables as well as a crop that might keep us on the Cape, period.
We have one other member here.
I'm Peter Satterman from Lone Meadows Farm, and we grow organic vegetables on our farm. We have a small farm stand on Lone Road. Many of you have seen it, I think. And our objective is to continue to grow really good organic food. And certainly getting involved in this market is an opportunity for farmers that they haven't had probably ever, to have a product that can bring a good return. And we all know that the prices will absolutely bottom out after several years, but still it'll be a good product that, or a good margin that they can have, so farmers can have a decent living and employ other people who can also make more than $10 an hour. So,
I want to give everyone a brief kind of a snapshot of what a co-op is. We have the CCCs, the Cannabis Control Commission. They're the regulating body that has created all the laws and the regulations that we have to follow. In their regulations, we have to hit the 7 principles of a co-op, okay? That's the definitions I actually have with me, but they're basically set up, it's an international idea, so it's not just the United States, but internationally it's done. It's a cooperative, it's member-run, it's member-owned, okay? It's community-based, all right? We're not a corporation, we're not a big company. We have an LLC. The state is mandating that we have an LLC. So when people say you're a big company, you have an LLC, we have to have an LLC. That's part of our regulations. So we work on consensus. If one of us doesn't agree on something, guess what? We get back to the table, we hash it out, we come up with a compromise. We work together, we work collaboratively. It's been amazing what we've done. Our bylaws are unbelievable. It's right down to the diversity factors, equity, all sorts of great things that we're going to be able to do for the town. We're going to be able to commit to a certain amount of percentage of our income will go back towards community services and education. Arthur's going to talk about that in a minute. So we're the co-op, okay? This is what everyone's talking about. We are the people, okay? I was your kid's Little League coach, okay? I sit on a committee in the town. I've done a lot of work for the town. I've been on various committees, okay? We helped start Sustainable Cape, which has got kids' gardens, farmer in the school programs. I mean, the work we've done for this community has been stellar, okay? And we're not young, I mean, I'm 51, but I have a long way to go. And I intend to make Truro a better place every day. Not just because cannabis, we can make some money, but because as good community members, we've done great things for this town already. All of our track records here. I mean, everyone here has done great things. So we wanted to meet you today and listen to your concerns, because believe me, I would say 99.99% of your concerns are addressed in the regulations. Read the regulations and you will find out that your concerns are met. Is there things the town can do to protect itself? Sure, they already have. The town has already decided where we can have commercial businesses. We know that agriculture happens on agricultural lands, okay? Things already exist. We have signage rules, we have parking rules, we have all sorts of stuff. And guess what? We have special permit, okay? We have that process already exists here. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We just need to define it and able to put the word cannabis into it and take the scare factor out. Listen, you all know marijuana is here, okay? Your kids have used it, you may be using it, okay? Prior to a few years ago, it was illegal. You were all breaking the law, those of you here that smoke, okay? So is it gonna go away? Definitely not. Should we regulate it, tax it, and best of all, test it? We should test it. We should make sure that you know how strong it is, that there's no mold and pesticides in there, okay? We should know that if there's medical components, that's in there, that you can get different types of things. So that's what we're here today, to try to explain to you the benefits of this industry coming to this town. There are a lot of benefits. And Boz is going to talk about some of the real quick social ones, but there are a lot of other things, economically speaking. We all know it's hard to make a living in this town, all right? We all have 5 jobs. We're scrambling to pay our mortgages. My age group is barely even here, okay? Drake's age group is really struggling to get to Truro, okay? So I've been here 30 years, okay? Farming in Truro for 30 years, all right? This is an opportunity for me finally, possibly, to make a little bit more money so I don't have to live paycheck by paycheck. You know, that's the key. We're just trying to offset our income. If we don't get into this market on the ground floor running, okay, all the studies and everything that shows from the states ahead of us, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, okay, Nevada, if you get your branded in there early and your namesake and your brand is in there early in the game, those are the ones that succeed. If you wait 6 months, someone's going to fill that market. If you wait a year, 20 people are going to fill that market. So all we're asking is to not slow down our process. We still have to get the community involved with the public outreach meeting, okay, which will be similar to this one, I'm assuming. Then we have to have a host community agreement, okay? Guess what? The word community's in there. Everyone here gets to say how our license will work in this town. Everyone gets a say. It's in the regulations. Once again, most of your fears and most of your concerns are in the regulations. It's going to take some time to read it, okay? It's 100, actually it's even more than 100 some pages because they added 70 something pages to it. So it's long, okay? It's black and white. We're not, okay? We are real people in your community. So let's start a little presentation. Now that so you've met us. Here we are, right? 4 of us from Truro, 1 from Wellfleet. There was a concern brought up at a Board of Selectmen meeting. The town council said that it's a corporation. We're a corporation, okay? Well, if you call us a corporation, then you guys have a funny idea of what corporation is. All right? I have not personally met town council, but I can't wait to have a discussion with them. So here we are. We are an LLC. We're registered in the state. We've got our operating agreement ready filed. We've got our bylaws written. All of our I's and all of our T's are crossed, and we are ready to move forward and get our license May 1st. Start working on the process. Is it going to happen in 2 weeks? No. It's going to take time for the state to go through this. So I'm going to talk about the easiest, can I have my water real quick? The easiest discussion of all of this is benefits to this town, okay? And that comes in the form of jobs. There's your insidious greenhouse, okay? Our greenhouses already exist, you know? There's a lot of concern about greenhouses. So I wanted to show you a picture of mine, one of mine. Actually, I have 14 already. Is my production gonna happen here? I know a lot of you know where I live. No, I'm in the national park. So it's not gonna happen there. I'll just quell that right off the bat, okay? It's a non-issue, okay? So, local, year-round, high-paying jobs. Does everyone agree that we need that in this town?
Yes.
Right? So, local jobs means here in Truro and Wellfleet too. Wellfleet's represented. Okay, year-round. This is a year-round industry. People don't stop smoking pot on Labor Day. Okay? That's the truth. They're going to go to these dispensaries, and a lot of them are going to be in P-Town. And just so you know, those dispensaries are legally allowed to deliver. Just so you know. You're going to have, I see some P-Town people. Didn't they just vote to allow Commercial Street to have dispensaries?
Champagne
right?
commercial.
Commercial Street, right?
Yeah, and change
So,
it.
game on, people, okay? You're gonna be getting a lot of people coming in here wanting to get on Commercial Street. I can guarantee it. So, it's a year-round industry, okay? Guess what? It's high paying, all right? In our business model, Tim and my business model, we're gonna be paying our employees $20 an hour. Health benefits, profit sharing, okay? Employee-owned business, all right? That's what we wanna do for our town and for the people that live here, okay? Now, industry jobs. Okay, let's just talk about the cannabis industry jobs. Our group alone, right now, has 17 employees between the 5 of us, okay? 3 years from now, we anticipate needing 34. We're gonna double our employees within 3 years, okay? The people in the industry, those are very obvious jobs that you can see where they're gonna make money, okay? Now, what about the non-industry jobs? I have to hire an electrician, I have to hire a plumber, I have to hire a carpenter, I have to hire an accountant, I have to hire a lawyer. Boy, I can keep going on, all right? I have to hire a marketing person, I might need a social media person, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna need. But those are offset jobs that are gonna be affected, okay? The construction worker, who is your neighbor, who's struggling to make ends meet, might be able to make a little bit more money because this industry comes to their town, okay? The non-industry jobs alone are gonna be huge for this town. Whether we allow all the other industries, all the other aspects of our industry here, I hope we do. I hope there's testing facilities here. You know, testing makes it easier access for everyone on the Cape. It's gonna be a good business to get into. The goal here is a safe product, okay? So we're the ones gonna grow the product organically. It's in our bylaws, okay? We have to get vetted. We have to have, we're gonna make sure everyone's doing it the right way, okay? We're not gonna pollute your water. We're not gonna pollute your cannabis, okay? We don't want that in our own lives, okay? So that is the main reason. The quicker we can get to work, the quicker we can begin to see the benefits, okay? Not just our host community agreement, because guess what? The town's gonna get possibly 3% of our gross income right off the bat, okay? So let's bring our industry here. Let's get the tax money flowing. Once a town has it going, their industry, they'll be able to access the state's programs that they're gonna be able, there's a slush fund gonna go, there's gonna be programs for education, for drug prevention, for all the things that we're concerned about. That money is gonna be available if your town allows it. If your town doesn't allow it, you're not gonna be on the list. You might be on the bottom of the list, but you're not gonna be on the top of the list. It's towns that accept this industry, that allow us and want it here, okay? P-Town, Wellfleet, Eastham, Brewster, okay? We may not be Brewster, but guess what? Our neighbors are, okay? Our friends are, okay? My kid goes to school with lots of kids from Brewster, okay? So I want a clean product in Brewster, okay? I want 21 years and older to have access to a safe product that's been tested, that's gone through the channels. So those are the basics of the jobs. I'm gonna now, who's next? I do believe Peter's next. Peter Stoudeman, Longnook. Whoop. There we go, Longnook, there you go. All right, so thank you for your time, and we're here for lots of questions.
Okay, we've all been designated to handle a little section of this, so this is my section. I, given my age, might be one of the older people. I am the older person, I think, in our group, maybe John? Anyway, I actually was probably one of the first growers of marijuana in Truro. In 1967, 8, and 9, I grew a small little patch over where my greenhouse is now. It was strictly for friends and family. I've never bought it. I've never paid for it. And when I first started getting involved with this, I'm on the agricultural committee. Dave said, listen, we have to get going with the town here. And so it got me back into thinking about marijuana. that's, walked by me every now and then, but because half of my crop got stolen one year, I said, I think maybe the cops know I'm here, so that was my end to flirting with it. So I started looking at some of the facts here, and there was a study done in 2015 by the federal government. It was a survey of our state, and what they discovered at that time, there was 1,100,000 people who admitted to consuming cannabis. Now that's a lot of people for our state because our population isn't so big. And they were surveying people, in the age category of 18 and older. There were only 50,000 medical marijuana licenses at that time. So what that really means is there's over 1 million people who are buying it, and buying it through illicit means. No controls on it whatsoever. And it really comes down to 1 in 5, really, in our community. I mean, if you look around the room and think about other people who are in our community, 1 in 5 is illegal. So I'd like just to take a little survey here. How many people here are over the age of 50? Okay, the reason I bring this up is people over the age of 50 are the fastest growing demographic of people who are starting to consume cannabis. I mean, it's the fastest growing group. And there's a logical reason for it in my mind. These are the people who have lots of aches and pains. And the medical side of cannabis has been proven to be very, very helpful with all kinds of different medical issues. So where's my button? There's my button.
Yeah.
So what I'm most concerned about with cannabis is it going to bring us a safe product? And one of the greatest things about the law that's been put into place is just how strict it will be on testing it. No product can move through the channel or through the custody chain without being tested. So as growers, when we have a batch we want to sell to the next stage along in this custody chain, we have to have it tested. And we're having it tested for molds, for pesticides, and for its content. And from my perspective, this is one of the greatest things about this law, is it will provide for the people who are consuming it a product that they can have the assurance that it's been tested properly, it's not laced, it doesn't have fentanyl or some other kind of junk stuck in it, and they won't, lose their minds or fall over dead. So everybody who will consume a product here will end up with that kind of certitude, and I think that's a pretty good certitude to have. But with my age category, we're all concerned about our health, and these health issues are really important, and there's a lot of things they're finding out about this particular plant that I had no idea about. When I started this thing with Dave, I started being exposed to that, and I said, oh my God, there's a lot of aspects to this plant that I can use. I mean, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I have pain all the time in my hands. It'd be great to find some way to alleviate some of that. So, on to our next subject. That's you.
Hey,
Rick?
Yeah, I believe yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Debbie McCullough Hopkins, and I'm part of High Dune as well. And I'm a nurse, and so honestly, 2 years ago, I never thought this was something that was ever going to be on my radar until my husband got cancer, and his cancer was not a traditional cancer that could be treated by chemotherapy or radiotherapy. And I'm going, well, I gotta do something, what can I do? And I just started really doing a lot of research about cannabis, and I had a lot of help with friends here in the room that I'm seeing here tonight, who have given me that little shove and push and to get my husband on this miracle drug. And with a stage 4 cancer, he is not only here looking dapper with that new haircut, he's thriving. So, I mean, this is was only just recently found, that in 1988. What is really cool is that it's kind of a process that's similar to the neurotransmitter system. It's a little different, but what it will not do is the endocannabinoid system is not found in the brainstem, which is really important because you cannot overdose on cannabis as far as respiratory arrest goes. The brainstem is responsible for the respiratory system, so it's really freaking amazing. CBD and THC, we know those names now, they're out there. CBD1 receptors are found in our brain, peripheral nervous system, and other tissues. I had a bad accident, and I have neuropathy due to some really bad stenosis and other herniated discs in my neck. After surgery, nothing, still was there. And they were giving me these drugs called gabapentin and Flexeril, and I was getting cramps and pains, and it was brutal living with that stuff. And I said one night, after making John's medicine, I said, let me put them on my teeth. 2 weeks later, I'm off of that medicine, and my neuropathy is almost gone. So again, another miracle. CBD2 is found in our immune system. You'll see that benefits in cancer. CBD has no psychoactive effects. THC is the psychoactive compound. CBD and THC again, analgesic for pain, anti-anxiety, anti-cancer, anti-convulsant for epilepsy, antidepressant, antiemetic for nausea and vomiting, anti-inflammatory, anti-insomnia. Who doesn't like to sleep? Bone stimulant, neuroprotective. John had a stroke. His whole left side was paralyzed in this past August. I ran after that ambulance, and he said, I can't have anything. They told me I can't have anything to eat or drink. I said, well, you're talking to me. Can you swallow? He goes, yeah. I go, boom. I popped a little THC pill into it. 2 weeks later, he is walking around. I mean, what I'm seeing is amazing. There's like over 100 compounds that you can find in cannabis. Terpines are some of them. Delivery methods, smoking, vaporizing, oral ingestion, topical administration. This is the one that you really got to be careful with. You got to go really low dose and go really slow with it. Drug-to-drug interactions. That's very interesting, but there's little research on this area right now. However, if you're on Coumadin or other blood thinners, it can potentiate that. And so it would require more frequent monitoring of your therapeutic labs. And the dosing rule of thumb, start low, go slow. Microdosing, play with it at home on the weekends, when you don't have to go anywhere. Titrate it to your desired effect. Give yourself some patience and diligence to learn what it is that is best for you. The entourage effects. This is really interesting because the government and so forth, other companies are creating synthetic medicines. This entourage effect is the whole plant. You need all of these compounds that I was just talking about. Other benefits is it decreases the use of opioids. Research is definitely showing this. And it decreases binge drinking as well in some research that they're finding.
It's also an exit drug from opioids.
Yes, it's pretty amazing.
That's one of the few things that can take people, we have a heroin problem on the Cape. It's one of the few things that can take people off of heroin, and they don't get addicted to marijuana. So they can stop the marijuana, but they can't stop the heroin.
Yes, this is good stuff. And so there's a lot of things that people are going to need to learn about it. There are strains, there are the indicas, which some people call indicouch, right? And but they reduce inflammation, anxiety, stress, and pain. The sativas are higher in THC, usually to CBD ratio, and it's typically uplifting. And I didn't have any, I swear. I've been in the operating room all day. Pains and strengths. Again, the high THC, low CBD, things to start learning about. There's hybrids. And you can find medical professionals competent in cannabis medicine to help you, find the right thing for your diagnosis. And again, here are all these wonderful things that it can help. Alzheimer's, dementia, epilepsy. I've got a book this big on the research. Chronic pain, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, what happened for John and his stroke, multiple sclerosis, Lyme disease, This is fantastic stuff. Thank you very much.
I think it's amazing the health benefits. Could you just tell us just a few minutes of what the regimen that you're giving him for cancer? What he's taking?
Yeah, I'm going to actually introduce my wonderful husband right here.
I'm the poster boy. Only I don't look very good. I'm getting older.
Better than dead.
That's a little bit of a problem. But I was 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma, stage 4. And they immediately took my kidney out. They took my right kidney out. And I was told that there was nothing that they really had to offer me. That's basically it. So they had a curve, a 5-year mortality curve, and that went like this. And so I knew that I needed to do something. And I had a friend here on Cape Cod who had a friend, and that friend was diagnosed with a terminal cancer and told, go home, you're done, we can't do anything for you. And he went home and he looked up Rick Simpson oil, which Rick Simpson is this guy up in Canada who started, making this oil. It's an extract. It's just a really concentrated form of cannabis. And so he learned how to make that, and he kept himself alive for about 1.5 years. And he only died because he decided, well, I'm cured. And so he stopped doing the cannabis, and then he got it just came back fierce, and he ended up dying from immunotherapy because it destroyed his pancreas or his liver. I don't remember which. But so I was faced with a tough situation. This is not a good prognosis. This is looking like, I can count my time. And Debbie did a lot of research, and we just decided, okay, we're going to do this. So I needed some marijuana, and I called one person one morning, and by noon or 1 o'clock, a pound of marijuana showed up at my door, Cape Cod grown, greenhouse grown, and it was actually relatively cheap, even though it was from the illicit market. That was from the illicit market. So I learned how to, and Debbie primarily learned how to extract. I know how to extract, but I'm just like lazy. And Debbie does it nicely for me. So I feel like the cannabis is keeping me alive. And this was a tough decision for me because I had been sober for about 23 years, I think it was at the time. And so I had to decide, it was really serious for me to take this up. But I've taken it up, and it's really doing wonders. I went surfing a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't get much better. That's all I'll say. So I really want to, and I want to say personally, I farm because I like to do it, and now I get to like it for a different reason, because we can grow some pretty good marijuana here in Truro. It's because I've been growing it for 2 years now, and I'm an amateur. Believe me, I'm a total amateur. But I'm going to become a professional. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Truro. It's a good thing for the people of Truro, and the medical benefits are astounding. And we could help with our opioid problem, because it's proven that when marijuana is legalized and accepted, opioid use goes down and becomes much less of a problem. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
In my spare time, I work with some cancer patients in the winter. And what I don't think he told you was, so when he extracts the cannabis, he's actually probably putting it under your tongue, right?
Oh, I'm taking a pill, yes.
You're taking a pill. All right, a lot of cancer patients now are taking the marijuana oil, and they're putting a little bit under their tongue and they're leaving it there, and they're constantly doing this. I've met a few people, and some people had prostate issues. Prostate cancer, which starts in men, I guess, around my age. So I'm going to be looking forward to that in the future. Hopefully not, because marijuana is getting legalized in Massachusetts and it's coming forward. Now, what they do is they take, so the body's amazing, has the cannabinoid receptors. So our body actually has these receptors. And the only plant that has a cannabinoid, or the only one that I know about, is cannabis. And this is helping fighting cancer. Now, one of my neighbors, a good friend of my father, got prostate cancer. And they're actually working on, well, I don't have to tell you what they're working on, but they basically go up the other end. They come in little plugs, and they're going to have cannabis in it. So it's not just to get high. It's also to cure cancer. Somebody else had prostate cancer. The doctors were giving him a very bad diagnosis. He's been making his own oil and taking it. And the doctor said, whatever you're doing, your PSAs have dropped way down. So people think of the Nancy Reagan era. I was brought up to say no. Everyone was afraid. It's amazing. It's fighting cancer. The doctors are having a hard time with cancer. Cancer rates are up for everybody. And he's probably going to have to stay on cannabis the rest of his life.
Oh, bad news.
I'm sorry, John. Thank you, sir.
Hello, I'm Drake Cook. I'm going to talk to you about some security stuff. This is everything that I'm talking to you about here is literally in the regulations, so that's my source for this. So security across all the regulations is really what they're focused on. It's like what's driving the regulations from top to bottom. And that's with property management, hiring, product inventory, transportation, waste disposal, everything. So, for example, our farms, whatever section that we're designating for this type of production is going to be off limits to public, to even people that maybe work for us in other sections of the farm. They'll only be allowed in the limited access areas if they are literally needed there, and that's all. That's it. The rules say the least amount of employees for efficient cultivation or work. Yeah. There's fencing. This is an example of a fence that's used on a cannabis farm. Alarms, surveillance, cameras. There are cameras and fencing, and so this is an example of not a scary looking fence, but something that is doing the job. Cameras that point towards entries, safes, any area where cannabis is being handled, so in the field or in processing. Emergency response plans. We have to create something with the local emergency people, the police and the fire department. We have to come up with a plan with them that they agree to for our business. The hiring is anyone who wants to touch the industry. It's insanely strict. We're basically going through an FBI check. Anyone, any lowest employee to CEO of a company, it has to go through these background checks, fingerprints, and then everyone has to go through job training. There's this thing called the Responsible Vendor Program. Everyone's going to have to go through. You have an annual card that you have to renew with the CCC through a Responsible Vendor Program. And then, IDs. This is like as if you work for the FAA, and you have to have your card, and you have to go through, you have to go through it all. Product inventory, really important with both transportation and product inventory. People are afraid of product being diverted to the illicit market, and especially to youth. I don't have anyone here, but there has been studies about With legalization, the access for youth actually goes down. And you can look these up online. I think Forbes had just released an article about this. There's this seed to sale tracking system. Yep. So there's these little tags that all of our products are going to have. The seed will have to be attached to a tag. The tag will follow it. The tag has all sorts of information, what it is, what its intention is, where it's going to end up, who picks it up, CBD levels, THC levels, when it was planted, all sorts of stuff like that. Even the waste, any waste that we have is regulated. It has to be ground up, it has to be mixed with other waste, and then our company would have to have 2 people visually see it disposed and record on it, and these records have to be kept for a certain length of time. I can't remember how long. Transportation is the same idea. 2 agents, so the wording in the regulations is agents. Anyone who works for the company is an agent. We would transport it using unmarked vehicles, randomized routes and time schedules so that no one can figure out what our usual business is. There's a GPS tracker on the car. We have to have, every 30 minutes, we have to be calling into base to make sure that they know where we are, that their side of the system is working, our side of the system is working. And the CCC, we have to have full transparency with them. They really do have a hand in our business. They can ask for anything from us. They can see our business records. They can see everything we do. They can ask for tapes. They can ask for anything. And what else? That's it. Any questions? Yes.
A couple questions. If you go outside of the legal limits, can they lift your license?
Oh, yeah. It's like, I don't, well, I guess, what legal limits are you asking about? Like
Well, if all of a sudden, 20 plants disappear.
And we have to, there's in the regulations, there's a very clear response that you're supposed to do within a certain hour of noticing. You have to immediately talk to the police or the law enforcement.
If you
if
you lose 20 plants and you get
if I lose 20 plants?
Yeah, meaning like if you were
in the car?
diverted, isn't that what you were asking? Like if you were diverted.
Well, there's a couple components to it. You have to have a tag on every plant, I understand.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden 20 of those plants disappear, are you responsible for it? If they find out that they used it, can they lift your license?
It would be the first, and then everything's on, literally everything's on tape. Yeah, but the GPS, there is GPS tracking on the tags, and based on how we're supposed to have our cameras pointing and everything, and the backup surveillance that we're supposed to have, and even in transportation, we have to on-camera weigh and designate what is going where on camera, and then when we get to the destination, we have to take it out of the locked safe in the back of the car, or how, it's a locked compartment in the back of the car. Again, on camera, weigh it with the dispensary or whatever licensed facility we're selling it to. So I don't see a way where I personally would be able to take out of the stock that I've prepared.
What happens if a plant dies?
If a plant dies, it becomes waste, and so the waste product has to be kept in a secure area that's separate from, say, a regular storage area for finished product. So you have to have 2 separate
limited access areas.
Yeah, in a limited access area, and it has to be ground up, and it has to be mixed with another waste product so that it's deemed unusable in any form. and then the 2 agents have to dispose of it and report on that.
One more question.
Sure.
The surveillance cameras.
Yes.
Are you going to light the place up, or are you going to use night vision cameras?
We were going to use night vision cameras. They have.
So they don't have to be lit up?
They don't have to be lit up, no.
It's actually mandated that we have night vision cameras.
Right.
That's part of the regulations.
And what if the power goes down?
So we have to have a whole backup system.
Yeah, we have to have a backup
Yeah, we have
system
to have
that's
backup system, yeah.
that is unharmed by a power outage. It's in the regulations too.
Now, are the cameras recording, or is it being fed to a central, like, government location?
We can
It's being,
choose.
there's a 4-second shot, so
Every
every
4
4
seconds.
seconds, it takes a photo, and then we have to have a certain size hard drive to carry the 365 days of these cameras are going to be running, 24 hours a day, every 4 seconds. So at any given time, if the CCC wants to check it, it can come back and get access to our hard drives and look at all of our cameras and see what's going on. So no one can come into the facility and steal something without being on camera. And then, you know, if they were smart enough to leave the geotag there, that's one thing. But if they took it with them, that's GPS driven. There's a GPS unit in there, and it will just track them where they're going with that stuff. So the state has many, many layers of security and safety to make sure that the product does not get diverted. It's really important.
Yeah, it's one of the.
I'd like to say that there's also protocols involved for any plants that are damaged through natural occurrences too. They have to follow some of the same disposal procedures as you were explaining earlier. So in case there might be some hurricane, high wind damage,
mold,
birds,
yeah.
deer,
Yeah.
you name it. So
That deer will be on camera though.
Rehab time.
I have 2 questions. Will each High member have his or her own farm? Or, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and
So,
then, go ahead.
So under our license, a general cultivator license allows 100,000 square feet, which is 2.2 something acres. Under our craft cooperative license, we are given the same amount of space. So we have 100,000 square feet to work with, and that can be dispersed among
6 locations.
Yeah, but, yeah.
6, and then if you want to add more,
Then it's
you
more,
just add another feet.
yeah.
But you still have to be under 100,000.
And that's where a lot of I think what I'm hearing in town right now is this concern of a 100,000 square foot greenhouse with blazing lights going on all night long, okay? So with the land prices in Truro, I don't think there's gonna be any big companies coming in here and buy 2-point-something acres, clear it, build a giant 100,000 square foot facility, which is, in my experience, after 30 years of building greenhouses, you're looking at probably a $2.2 million greenhouse.
on top of your
There's-
1.5
On the top of your,
property.
what is our per acre land here, maybe 400,000, 500, I don't know, it's a lot, right? So if the thought that some big corporation is gonna come in here and get a 100,000 square foot greenhouse and light it up all night long, that is really unrealistic, because anyone with that kind of money in this kind of industry is gonna go to Fitchburg or gonna go to Western Mass where they have soil, and the land prices is a lot cheaper. So one of the things that we're talking about here is like the churro industry, what we're talking about, our craft cooperative is us farmers here, okay?
We already have the infrastructure.
We already have the greenhouses, we already have the farms. We'll go in at a tier, okay? So they break 100,000 square feet up into tiers, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 11. And when you go into a tier, okay, our group plans to go into tier, I think it's 20 to 30,000, I think it's tier 3. Tier 3, I think we are. So our first year of production, we're looking at 30,000 square feet split up between 5 of us, okay? It's not gonna be giant greenhouses as far as the eye can see. That's a fear thing, okay? That's been talked about in planning board meetings, it's been talked about in board of selectmen meetings, it's been brought up by the town council, all right? It's strictly not gonna happen that way.
We've already had the medical industry has already been here, and we don't have laws keeping any medical grower out of Truro now, and no one's come, right?
That's true, yeah. I mean,
And that industry has, you know, a higher starting, but, you know, the cost of land here is really.
Really what's gonna happen in this, I foresee this town having a co-op. Maybe we take on a couple new members. Right now, we're not, but maybe in the future we might. But we still have 100,000 square feet. We can't go over that. And you start putting it all around town in all of our relatively, like, pretty rural farms. Like, you know, you can't see John's farm anywhere, right? Unless you're right next door to him. And of course, when we do this process, all of the abutters within 300 feet are going to be notified of the cannabis business being there. So the community is going to get involved. The abutters are going to know. We can't hide from that, okay? So we want to make kind of a little bit more realistic discussion here about greenhouses and about stuff.
About the LED lighting.
And about the lighting, because a lot of people have this idea of lighting. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Perry Farm and their beautiful greenhouse they have with the lights on 24/7, okay? It's a productive farm. It's producing food that you guys get to eat, okay? And those lights are called halide lights or high-pressured sodium lights, okay? They throw off an incredible amount of light. So there's nothing to stop another farm from building, let's just say a 10,000 square foot greenhouse and putting halide lights everywhere in there and growing tomatoes. Nothing here, no one can stop that in this town, okay? If a farmer wants to do it, they can do it. The cannabis industry is going to be regulated to LED lighting, okay? High efficient LED lighting. We're being mandated by the state. We cannot use halide lights. We cannot use high pressured sodium lights. We have to use LED lights. Guess what, folks? LED lights have a very special hood range that throws light down, not up into our sky. Halide and high pressure sodium, everywhere, okay? So that's a big concern. I keep hearing around lights all night long creating light pollution.
I highly encourage people to go online and look at the difference between an LED grow light and a high pressure sodium or metal halide grow. They're two different worlds entirely.
Exactly.
So if people are having concerns that their neighbor may be having blazing lights in the middle of the night, I think that your concerns will really, really be downscaled at that point, if you understand it.
I'd like to just add a couple of things to this discussion. First of all, about all these details that we've gone through here. In my previous career, I worked on some government contracts. I was a subcontractor to a contractor, and I worked on some directly. These are federal contracts. And you have to comply with the federal acquisition regulations. In my case, I worked with the Department of Defense. So there were defense acquisition regulations. They are incredibly complicated and they're very, very burdensome. This CCC that they've come up with is equally the same. I mean, it is onerous, the whole thing. We've had a guy who was in our group who dropped out. He said, wait, I don't want to expose myself to all that. I don't want people coming in and looking at my life. I don't want somebody to examine all my books or look at everything that I'm doing. He said, I'm out of here. I don't want to be part of this. So these people have decided they want to try it. Some people may drop out once the state becomes too intrusive. Who knows? We don't know. So that's on that issue. The other thing I wanted to mention was in the regulations for a craft cultivator license, there has to be at least one member who files a Schedule F with their tax returns. Schedule F is a special schedule for farms, for farmers. You declare your income and all your expenses. Now, there's two of us, I think it's John and myself, filed that. Think about practically how many other people in town might be doing that. I can name two of them. And those two are not interested in this business. So for another co-op to start up in town, you'd have to find somebody who does a Schedule F to be part of your membership. I don't know where they are. And besides that,
think about how much land we have here. I only know of one place that has a lot of land that you could do something with, and that's Newton's. And I don't think anybody who's farms would like to be farming over there. You'd have a hard time getting decent, I think. I don't want to cast aspersions, but you may have difficulty getting decent water and decent soil. So practically, you have to think about this from a practical point of view. The other practical aspect is, Dave touched on it, but even a greenhouse like I have is very expensive. These are not built, casually. You have to decide you want to make that investment, and you're going to generate the revenue to pay it off. And a what they call a grow facility for cannabis, is usually one which is totally enclosed, and you do go through something called light deprivation. Who knew? And it has this canopy inside that restricts all the lighting that you're using from escaping, because you want that to be concentrated on the plant. So there's a lot of, I call it sort of hysteria on these subjects. People say, oh, greenhouse, do you want a greenhouse next to you? It's pretty impractical that somebody's going to pop up a greenhouse in their yard. And why would they do it unless they're going for a license? And how do they get a license? You got to get it through the Cannabis Control Commission, and you have to meet all of these regulations and all of these conditions, which are not
have town approval,
and which are not easy. Plus, you got to get a community host agreement.
Did you say 10 approvals?
Town.
Town.
Sorry, Maureen has a question.
I had a question, and I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to do this presentation, but since you were discussing the greenhouse issue so much, it's been something that I've been thinking about, are the greenhouses that, you said that this is going to be a year-round pursuit. And I know that the cooperative license gives the cooperative the right to not just grow, but to also manufacture, process. So I've been trying to understand whether you're going to have different types of structures based on the climate that we have here, and also because where are you going to do your processing? Are the greenhouses now adequate for year-round use that you folks are thinking of using?
So they're processing as in like drying the plants and that sort of thing.
Whatever is
involved. Okay, so this is an interesting topic, right? From what I understand from the regulations, we're a co-op that's applying for a cultivation license. There's additional items that you have to meet to get a manufacturer's license. Like what you're going to produce, how you're going to produce it, what type of branding you're going to stamp onto like an edible or whatever produced item, and we're not doing that. We're not applying for that. We're not applying for that. And if we
just applying for cultivation,
we're applying for cultivation.
And are your greenhouses as they are adequate for that?
For cultivate for year round. At our farm, we're not there yet. I mean, we have a heater. We have to do a little. I mean, we have to do a bit of additions to be year round right now. In our beginning process at Pure Joy Farm, we're seasonal until we've made back some of the money to invest back into the
you need a heater.
farm.
All you need to do is give it some heat and then some supplement lighting. Unfortunately, LED for the grower, because LED lights don't make as better of a product as halides and high pressure sodium, but we don't get to use those. So there will be supplement lighting with LED lighting, and you would have to buy furnaces to heat it. Therefore, at this juncture, not a lot of us have heaters, so most of us will be doing it seasonally. One of the kind of offsets to this is a discussion about what we grow. Okay, so I'll touch on that when I do the seed to sale thing. But basically, to do year round here, you need a heater in your greenhouse, and you need a little extra light. But any greenhouse, you know, if you have $3,000, you can buy a heater. You know, that's kind of, that's the way it is. I mean, I have, you know, Roxbury Nursery I took over, most of you know that. I have numerous greenhouses with heaters. Is it profitable to run them in the wintertime? It's very difficult. You know, I grow my salad mix with unheated greenhouses because we've learned techniques that we can grow our salad mix year-round in unheated houses. If we choose to grow cannabis in a greenhouse, we'll have to heat it in the winter, okay?
I have a question. So if you are able to then get heaters and be growing year-round in your greenhouses, will it be possible to also grow vegetables in that greenhouse that's been paid for from?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's plenty of examples on the Cape of year-round vegetable production using heaters. Perry Farm is the closest, okay? There's a lot of great examples, capabilities, grows tomatoes year-round, salad mix. Yeah.
So it can be in the same space, like they'll allow you to have your tomatoes in the same.
I don't know about that, actually. I don't think it's gonna happen that way. There's nothing in the regs that says, no, you can't do that. But why you wouldn't wanna do that, because you wouldn't wanna dedicate, you know, you're going through this onerous process to be regulated, to be totally regulated, and it would be kind of backwards. It's kind of going backwards to say, I'm gonna make a head of lettuce for $2 on the same square footage that I can maybe make $200. So,
not to mention some plants that you may want a companion, maybe more susceptible to diseases and pesticides and pests that might affect your big cash crop.
We have more things that we want to chat about, but given time, Dave, I think maybe we should jump ahead to you to do the seed to sale.
I want, because you guys have to leave soon. No, Seth, you do your thing real quick.
Okay.
All right.
Or, because we have to, these two have to leave soon, so. Sorry.
Truro's greatest treasure is the rural character it has preserved, as stated in the 2005 Comprehensive Town Plan. European settlers saw Cape Cod as a place of agrarian opportunity and did not immediately take to marine-based activities. As time passed and more settlements were built, farming became highly regarded as a way to make a good living in Barnstable County. Later, with the construction of major roads and eventually a railway system, it enabled farmers to bring goods quickly to roadside stands and to markets both on and off Cape Cod. This infrastructure, in turn, supported additional farming and the ventures that provided job opportunities, as well as the establishment of farming groups that functioned as co-ops during harvest season. The Dune Craft Cooperative intends to function as an agricultural co-op in the town of Truro, just as our four farmers did. Cape Cod's lost thousands of acres of farmland over the past half-century, mostly to residential development. This conversion of agricultural lands to housing has resulted in several negative consequences. Among these are the loss of a rich cultural heritage of working landscape, such as the fields of turnips and strawberries, long a part of the Cape Cod allure, the loss of the small family farm, a decline in economic diversity, and the disappearance of important meadow habitats for wildlife. Our co-op members cumulatively possess over 100 years of agricultural experience. Our desire is to continue farming on land that has been in agricultural use, ranging from decades to over a century, over Peter Statterman's. Under the heading of economic development in Truro's comprehensive plan, it states that large-scale retail and commercial activities are inappropriate and should be discouraged. Instead, the town should support small businesses and home-based enterprises. There are currently 15 working farms in Truro. The median cost of a home in Truro, over $600,000. In order for these existing small farms and the local jobs they provide to remain, grow, and flourish in Truro, it is essential that they have access to and the opportunity to be part of the most revolutionary innovation in Massachusetts agriculture since the Industrial Revolution. Please vote no on Article 21. Support Truro's comprehensive plan and protect Truro's rural character.
The right button. There you go.
Yeah.
Move on. Move on.
Hi there. Too often, new industries are economically unavailable to many people interested in entering on the ground floor. Through a structure of reasonable fees and taxes, the CCC, by creating the Craft Cooperative Cultivator License Model, has allowed small farms with limited capital to enter the market. The CCC has also developed programs such as the Social Equity Program, Leadership Program, and the Technical Assistance Fund. These programs, along with High Dune Craft Cooperative's own bylaws, will help ensure equality and diversity across the new industry. The CCC's tiered fee schedule designates appropriate low fees to enter the industry. It allows our co-op to spread our fees amongst its members, reducing the burden that the individual cultivator license holders are responsible to pay. The Social Equity Program was designed by the CCC to help people in areas of Massachusetts that have been disproportionately affected by prior cannabis laws. It established mechanisms to help these people gain access to the industry and priority in the application process. Microbusinesses are another creation of the CCC that promises easy, small-scale entry into the industry, focused on home businesses, along with an educational component and fee waivers and reductions. Truro, in its goal to attract small-scale business to our area, ought to embrace this model and encourage its support. High Dune Craft Cooperative is excited to donate a portion of its annual revenue to these programs, as well as participate in any educational capacity that promote social and economic responsibility as well as diversity. Looking closer at our specific co-op, it is easy to see our own diversity. Our members span the age demographic from late 20s to our senior member. This brings a wealth of prior experience in farming balanced with youthful energy. We are also proud to have 2 veterans of the armed services, 4 women, and members of the LGBTQ community. We will include this aspect of our co-op during the application process with an emphasis on continuing this trend to our hiring process. Our co-op voting structure reflects our commitment to equality. As opposed to a democratic model, we have adopted a by-consensus model. This ensures that a united body of responsible co-op members guided by a common vision and sharing the same business practices. Our co-op bylaws further reflect our commitment to inclusion as well as safe organic growing practices. We will be striving to achieve the most respected, quality, and growing certificates available in the market. Our farmers respect our aquifer and the land we farm. This is evident of our continued commitment to growing organic produce in the past and future, which will carry over to this additional crop. Our members also come from a long and diverse background of social activism. Through the CCC's leadership program, the members of the HDCC will continue to work on behalf of social and economic justice in this industry. We are committed to achieving all 4 leadership statuses, which include social justice leader, local employment leader, energy and environmental leader, and compliance leader. In addition, the HDCC has developed its own bylaw in its charter that will donate a percentage of the co-op's annual income to organizations, research projects, or institutions with the express intent of funding continued research in the efficacy of medicinal benefits from cannabis. This is not a mandated requirement by the CC, but was important for us as members and as patients in some circumstances to reflect our commitment to furthering the cause for medical cannabis. As many of you might know, the mainstreaming of the cannabis industry is happening quickly. Our 24-hour news cycle has shown that the industry is now being pushed by some of the most unlikely past political figures with questionable ethics, to say the least. This should be a large wake-up call to all of us concerned with the influence of large corporate influence on the industry. By supporting cannabis business in our town, you are supporting and promoting local, socially responsible, diverse businesses with community focus. The alternate is an industry that cares little about an equal playing field and an emphasis on profit without responsibility. I thank you for listening and encourage you all to vote no on the moratorium.
I just want to let them go. They have to get their kids somewhere, so Thanks, Stephanie and Bob, for being here. Oh, you already hit the button. Tim?
Okay. I'm going to be super quick because I think what's really most important for everybody at this point is to listen to what Dave has to say from the Seed to Sale. But in a nutshell, High Dunes Craft Cooperative is about living wage, year-round, full-time, local jobs that keeps Truro's local character intact. You've seen us, you know us, that's what we're about. Now, Seed to Sale, I'm sorry.
You ready for me?
Yes, please. Because I'm sure they don't want to hear about it.
So, we, that right there.
Okay.
All right, this is kind of the nuts and bolts of a discussion that we need to have. We, as cooperative and growers, are going to be mandated to follow a very strict regimen of regulations, okay? So, as Drake was mentioning in her security discussion, seed to sale, okay? They're going to track us all the way from seed to sale, okay? There's not going to be any area missed, okay? We're going to be watched literally on camera all the time, okay? So I normally have a tendency to farm naked, but I won't be able to do that. Okay? I mean, that's one of the reasons I became a farmer and not something else, because I want to work privately in the woods of Truro and maybe be naked. So that's not going to happen in the cannabis world, okay? Every employee that we hire is what's called an agent. Agent has to go through testing. It has to go through education. They're not going to just be like, oh yeah, pot's good for you, here. No, they have to learn all about the details of it, okay? So, here we go. Geotags, you heard about that, right? A geotag is a GPS unit, okay, that's barcoded, all right? Everything is going to be contained in that barcode and that GPS thing, okay? One per plant, okay? Not one per batch, one per plant. And guess who's going to pay for those tags? We are, okay? It's not going to be free. They're going to be feeing us up the you-know-what, okay? Geotags, one per plant, okay? Now we're going to get into some high-tech discussion here. Seedling or cuttings are tagged, okay? Seedlings, just that. They're grown from a seed, okay? Cutting is a vegetative cutting from a female plant, typically, unless you're doing breeding. But you take a cutting, a vegetative cutting, and grow a plant from another plant, okay? Those are cuttings. Still needs to have a tag, okay? So now we're growing. We've got our seedling up. We've got our cuttings going. We've got it's all tagged, and it goes. The plants are grown in a secured area, surveillance cameras, and monitoring growth. No access from the public. No one can come in this greenhouse unless you have that agent card and you're specifically working for that farm, okay? We don't get to have tours. No one gets to come and see things, okay? So, no access from the public. Fencing, cameras, okay? We grow a plant. When we're done, the plants are harvested, okay? So, I'm not sure if you know how plants grow, but you grow a plant, you cut it, and that's maybe where Maureen was starting to get complexity about the manufacturing and processing, okay? We're allowed to manufacture and process, but that's what we have to do. Just like when we grow garlic. We have to grow garlic, we have to pull it, we have to dry it, we have to hang it upside down and dry it, we have to then trim the roots, okay? Trim off the top, and then package it for sale. Guess what? That's what we do to cannabis. We grow a crop, in this case, geotagged, monitored completely. Then we harvest it. That means we take off the fan leaves, sugar leaves, some people call them big leaves. We hang it upside down in a greenhouse, in a garage that's an approved facility by the CCC, of course. They're going to come and inspect our farms, by the way, and check and make sure everything is being done properly. So it will be the manufacturing and processing part will be us hanging a plant upside down to dry, okay? That's the big worry that everyone in this town is having. Well, guess what? It's really a non-issue, folks, okay? Go ahead.
Are you also going to use a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of trimmings that come off that aren't good for sale? Or are you also going to make
So we can take those trimmings, okay, and we can sell it to a licensed processor, a manufacturer. So if you get a processor's license, then you're going to make edibles, okay? So you have your license from the state, and we can now take our trimmings and our what currently is like a byproduct of our industry, okay? We take that byproduct and we sell it to you. Obviously, it's gonna be a cheaper price, right, than the good-looking buds that we're gonna grow. So, it has to be monitored, it has to go through all the transportation, everything's the same as if it was the high-quality bud, okay? So, and it has to go to an approved licensed facility, okay? It's not gonna be at your farmer's market, it's not gonna be on the side of the street, it's gonna go through really strict channels to go to a specific place. Okay, so we harvest it, we take a cutter and we cut it off. Plants are moved to a secure drying area. Secure, cameras, once again, hanging upside down in cameras, okay? The plants are trimmed. Depending on humidity levels, we're looking 7, 14 days later, we trim them, okay? We take off the leaves, the big ones we don't use, we took off the small ones that this gentleman brought up, okay? And once again, and then it's cured. I don't know if anyone's ever grown tobacco, but it needs a curing process, okay? That takes about a month for that to happen. Once again, in a secured area, approved by the CCC as a place that we can do business and work. Okay, now comes the really fun part. We've got this product, right? We have to get a batch test for every batch, okay? A batch is so you have your seedlings and your cuttings up top. So let's say we have 100 seedlings of the same thing, of the same variety. We're gonna just pick a name. What's a popular pot right now?
Amnesia.
Amnesia is a good variety on the market right now. So we have a batch of amnesia plants, okay? Now, each plant gets tested, each batch gets tested, okay? It goes through testing that is licensed facility by the state. Okay, these testing facilities are not just run-of-the-mill things, they're being tested.
Are there any of these so far?
Testing facilities?
Yeah, Massachusetts.
There's two.
Yeah,
There's two with big weights. Takes months to get your results. Wow, that's a great industry for someone to start, isn't it? Right? There you go. Unfortunately, that industry, that testing stuff is roughly between $75,000 for medium-sized equipment. So, and you need some chemistry basis. So it's a business. It can't be signs. There's no signs for testing facilities. It could be right next door, and but you wouldn't even know.
So once you are up and running and you want something to get tested, what's the
Currently,
turnover rate
if
for that?
everything stays the same, we're going to join a whole long list of people and get online. And we can't do anything with our product until we get our stuff processed. So we're all hoping that someone in the town of Truro says, I want to be a testing facility. Because all these growers are going to be popping up and they're going to make money. Okay?
We're meeting with the Cape Cod-based one on Sunday. He's got the equipment, PhD, doesn't want to be the
Great,
Cape
so
business,
so
just
that's
testing.
good. I've never even heard about that. That's great to know. So we have to take, they're testing by the Department of Public Health standards, okay, that they're using currently for the medical industry, okay? There's some talk about making it stricter and adding a few things, okay? But currently, it's all through the Department of Public Health. It's all on their website. You can see what they're testing for. Everyone is very transparent here, okay? So let's say we get our batch tested of amnesia, and it comes up super clean. We've got this much level CBDs, this much CBG, CBNs, this much THC, this much THCA, okay? So they're gonna measure all that for us. And then we have a tested product that's in our hands, okay? That we finally can package and prepare for delivery. Here comes your processing part again, right? Some of us may put it in a big Rubbermaid bucket and send it off. Others of us, anyone has the option to make it a smaller package and to stick our logo on it, okay? And that package then is going to our distort. We can get that package all the way down to the size of a joint, okay? That's processing and manufacturing, okay? We go from pounds to maybe quarter pounds to maybe ounces. Oh, actually, you've all probably smoked pot before, so you know what happens. So it gets smaller and smaller, and guess what happens when you go smaller and smaller? Your price point goes up. So would it behoove me to buy a pre-marijuana rolling machine for my processing? Yeah. I'll take some of my product and turn it into joints. Put them in a little safety cap that has child-proof cap on it, tamper-proof, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to stick my logo on it, right? My logo is going to be throughout the entire state of Massachusetts. I'm going from every corner, man. Nantucket, I'm going to North Adams, I'm going to Peabody, I'm going everywhere I can. My logos, if I can get on the ground floor running and get my logo branded, I'm going to be all over the state growing the finest cannabis organically possible. That's my mission, okay? So, we've got our product. Guess what? It's now time to transport it. Well, you heard Drake. Does transporting sound easy? No. We have to have unmarked cars, GPS. We have to have extra people in the car. We have to videotape everything. We got to record every half hour along the way. I mean, it's like we have to have diversionary routes. I mean, it's like, it's incredible what we have to do, okay? So here we are, we're driving down to a licensed facility. Are we gonna sell it to the kids in the street? No. We're gonna take our tested product, we're gonna go to a licensed facility, and we're gonna sell them our product, okay? And we're gonna go through all the state transportation rules. And then guess what happens? Then the sales have to be recorded with the state, and that completes the seed to sale process, okay? Protocol, okay? And then guess what happens? Then we get to pay taxes and fees are paid to the state and the town of Truro, okay? And a lot of people have left here, and a lot of people that left needed to see this slide. This was the most important slide to see, okay? This controls the corporation. Oh, I mean the co-op, excuse me. We're a co-op of farmers, okay? We're not a corporation. We are an LLC. We were state mandated to become an LLC. That was the way they made us be. Okay, I guess we can be an LLP too if we want, but we chose an LLC. So it ends here, folks. Revenue to the town. Yes, Peter.
In order to
Jack.
grow the finest organic product possible, all you need are LED lights and a heater.
All I need is Mother Nature. I need the sun. That's all I need.
And
Sun, soil, and water.
Indoors,
Sun, soil, and water.
Indoors.
Indoors, outdoors. Either one will
How
have.
do you control humidity?
Dehumidifiers, air conditioners, horizontal action fans. You control any kind of mildew that you could possibly get. If anyone's ever grown pot before, they've probably got bud rot. I'm not sure if you guys, I don't know who wants to admit it, but there are organic products that we can use to mitigate that. That's certified organic, okay? So we are allowed to use, in our co-op, we're going to be mandatory that we grow organically. So we're going to be farming what's called OMRI-regulated products, okay? Organic Material Review Institute reviews these things, and they tell the world, or this country, that this is organic, and you can use it on organic farms. We're going to be using the same products on our cannabis, okay? So, and if we break the rules and we try to sneak in some other kind of funky fungicide to get rid of it, guess who's going to get it? It's going to come up right here, and they're going to stop that batch, and we're going to have to destroy it, okay, in the proper channels. So, what we need to grow this plant is what Mother Nature did in the very beginning. We need soil, we need water, we need sun. Now, are you going to grow a grade A product like that? Probably not. Probably going to grow mediocre weed. To get it to the next level, there's a lot of tricks. There's azomite. Azomite. It's a rock dust powder. Amazing. Amazing on my farm. Okay? There's microorganisms we add to the soil. Beneficial microorganisms. It's called effective microorganisms. Okay? Mycorrhiza, funguses we add to our soil. So we can make what we call super soil, or that's what a lot of people in the industry are starting to call it. We make compost, we mix it in there. So we're giving it really good soil. And then we give it really good water, because guess what? Truro's got really good water.
Yes.
You know? We all can agree, right? Truro's
Yes.
got good water. So we're going to protect that water by doing due diligence with growing organically, okay? We're going to use drip irrigation so we don't waste our water. Also because we don't have time to be standing there watering stuff, okay? So we're going to use drip irrigation. If a farmer, one of these farmers doesn't know about it yet, one of us is going to teach them. That's what a co-op is. We're going to buy organic fertilizer bulk, and we're all going to save a little money. We're going to work as a cooperative, okay? This town should have an agricultural range. We should have a big buying co-op for you, Jack, and for anyone else who wants to purchase at a bulk price, organic stuff. So, this is the important thing, okay? When it's all said and done, we're gonna jump through so many hoops. We're gonna get fees, we're gonna get all sorts of up and down. The end result, there's taxes to the state that are gonna fix your roads, fix your bridges, get more drug rehabilitation, more education. They're gonna fix your schools. They're gonna make a lot of things better. We're talking $1 billion industry, people. We're not talking little stuff here, okay? I remember your thing about the Brewster thing where like, you know, how much money, they're gonna be like the second or third
They were the number, they're going to be number one. They're going to be Ocean Edge.
So I don't know, they're gonna, you know, I don't know who pays the most taxes in this town. I don't know if it's the Vineyard or Atlantic Spice or who it is, right? But I bet you, by the time we're growing up and moving and we're really producing well in a few years, we're gonna be right up there with the largest tax generator for this town. And do we have a coffers right now? Yeah, our town budget looks pretty healthy. I don't know if you've looked at the town warrant yet, but our town is doing pretty well, financially speaking. But can it use another $100,000 a year? I think it can, okay? Can we put another roof on the school? Yes. Can we help them expand? You know, the school wants to put in a big orchard, okay? This is an idea that I've been talking about for years. Guess what? It's gonna happen, okay? Because people like us are working and volunteering our time to get it happen. So this is the most important slide to see. If anyone wants a copy of this slide, a copy of any of our slides, I encourage you to contact us, and I'd be happy to discuss it. But this is the nuts and bolts. And nowhere in here does it say it's going to go to the teenager on the street corner. Okay? Yes.
You will find yourself within a year or two competing with people with big, deep pockets.
Yeah.
Who can afford to rent existing industrial buildings in
New Bedford, Fall River,
all around Massachusetts. They'll have access to, you know, high power electricity. They'll be able to run it in and keep their electric costs down. Do you think you're going to be able to? I mean, you're taking a risk here.
It's a huge risk, and I think what we're doing is what's happened in the other states. Okay, we're not inventing the wheel here. It's already been done in all these other states. So what's happened in these states is things are kind of settling down now, right? Spikes in prices, price drops, price go back up a little bit. Okay, there's been a lot of that kind of stuff. What has happened is there's a niche market, just like there is for my $5 a pound tomato. Okay, you come to me, it's $5 a pound.
Buy local.
Buy local. So my tomato is $5 a pound.
Like a custom brewery.
Yeah.
Okay, so craft breweries, the same kind of thing. So this is a good. Okay, so the craft brewer. So a lot of us, well, Boz left, but he drinks Pabst Blue Ribbon, okay? Because he likes that price point, right? So he drinks beer, he likes it, and he's gone. I can pick up now, but you know, he drinks Pabst. I don't drink Pabst. I don't trust beer I can see through. So guess what? I spend $7, $8, $9, $10, $12, $20 for the dogfish, okay? Because I like that. Our group is going to grow the finest organic cannabis, sun-grown cannabis, hand-trimmed with love. That's going to be a higher price point. And that's how we're going to work our business model and go for it. Is the industry going to shake out? Definitely. Is there going to be a Walmart weed? Definitely. Okay, it's coming. And once the feds open up Schedule 1 and they realize that it's ridiculous, guess what? Game on, people. You're going to be getting, the borders are going to open, there's going to be pot coming from all over the place into this state, into all of our states. So we need to get we need to get on the ground floor right now. And the reason this moratorium is affecting us is because it's going to slow us getting our host community agreement. We have to work with the town to get the host community agreement. Our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. May 1st, we're applying for our license. Nothing's going to stop that. What's going to happen is it could be slowed down and hindered. And in the process of doing that, you're hog-tying us. You're making it so we cannot be able to get in this industry early and miss out on the important branding that all the other states have shown us is important. Go ahead.
Is it possible for someone to draft an amendment to this moratorium that excludes the farmers?
Yes. Now we worked on that. a little bit.
Those
And there's,
rules
our board of selectmen
sound
have
like-
left. Our board of selectmen left, and I wish they didn't, but that was something that was proposed.
Excuse me, I have to go. I've got a
Okay.
sick dog at home.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So, the current thought, which is, was at the last Board of Selectmen meeting when we were going over their articles, town council called in. Board of Selectmen was ready to carve out, that's the terminology everyone's kind of joined here, to carve out the cooperative and allow us to get moving, and then put a restriction on the rest of the businesses. Town council decided to say that if we had changed the moratorium, that the Attorney General might not feel that that was a legal thing and allowable to do, and that the Attorney General would go ahead and stop that, and that wouldn't allow us to do that, to amend the moratorium. Guess what? Town council was wrong. Okay? Town council did not do due diligence. The town of Milford has already carved stuff out. We have already found other towns in the state that have done just that. Our town council is saying it can't be done with the Attorney General's, no, it can't be done. Guess what? Town council made a mistake, okay? And the important thing to remember here is that, yes, we can petition an article to make an amendment, okay? Now, if we do that, personally, our group, do we leave the recreation guy out of the picture? We kind of left him hanging. There is one person who wants to have a business here, folks.
Retail.
Retail business here. We're not the only people. There's an active person looking for a retail dispensary in the town. And by the way, because of the regulations, it's a proportional thing to how many liquor stores you have. So the whole fear of pot shops on every corner, and I wish a lot of the people here that have left heard this town can have one recreational dispensary by the law. One.
There's gonna be a line to the bridge.
There's one allowed in this town. So wherever it exists, wherever they zone it, wherever it happens, it's still gonna be one, okay? Is that a good business model for us farmers? No, we're gonna go to P-Town because Commercial Street's gonna be lit on fire, okay? And then Wellfleet's gonna get going, Brewster's gonna get going, all right? So we're gonna have places, I'm gonna go up to Holyoke, I'm going to North Adams, I'm going everywhere with my brand, okay? Particularly where Tim and I really agree upon is we want to get one of the licensed facilities we can go to is medical research facilities.
Yes.
The CCC really was smart because they're looking at the big picture and they added that as a potential. So we can sell our product to a licensed medical research facility that can then take the product and research it. These facilities have been looking to get product to test for a long time and our government has been stopping them. They can't stop them in this state any longer. The biotech revolution in this state, I think we can all agree, with MIT and Harvard and all these places, is a thriving industry. The medicines of the future are within the cannabinoid system of the plant. We have a cannabinoid receptors all over our bodies. Why are they there? I don't know. But I'm telling you that they found them. The doctors, these people have found this stuff in our bodies that accepts one thing. Cannabis, cannabinoids. We are meant to be living with this plant, okay? So that's the important thing to remember is that Tim and I are going to be bringing our top grade quality product to the medical research facilities as well as other businesses. Do you have a question?
I just wanted to bring something up that because Truro voted in favor of legalized cannabis, in order to ban a business from happening, ban an industry business from happening here, it would have to go through a special town ballot question. Am I correct on that?
We'll do another local referendum.
Right, so we're not really, I mean, we could ban a dispensary from being here, or ban us from being here, or ban anyone from being here, but we'd have to go through.
Yeah, I don't believe any of our town officials are interested in doing that.
Okay.
But okay, so this is the
very low impact.
This is great. Okay, this is how it works. This is the important thing. Okay, this is what we wanted to bring to people's attention. Okay, because we know you have concerns. Okay, so did we hit most of them up here? I think we probably hit most of them. We've already talked about a lot. So the town is concerned about if we don't get these zoning laws inside, it's going to be like a free-for-all, right? It's going to be like the Wild West. They're going to come in, there's going to be pot shops in every corner, there's going to be cultivators and farmers building 100,000 square foot greenhouses with tons of lights, okay? That's what I'm hearing on the street, okay? And I've been asking a lot of people what they think, okay? That can't happen. The CCC is not gonna let that happen. And the marketplace, okay? Any prudent business person's not gonna buy land in Truro to run a cannabis business. It doesn't make sense, okay? Diversion to youth, well, you know that's not happening, right? You can see our seed to sale, okay? Security, Drake hit that out of the park, right? We are secure. Lights, LED only, special hoods, direct the light down. There's even discussions that can happen in the host community agreement that we put the lights on at hours when we do our supplement, maybe when you're asleep, from 4 o'clock in the morning to 8 in the morning. Maybe we do it then. Okay, we don't need a lot of extra light, we just need a little, okay? Pesticides, yeah, it's gonna get tested. Our group has bylaws to do it organically. Signage, guess what? The only one that can have signs is the retail dispensary. And they're gonna be bound by the signage laws that already exist in this town. They're not gonna throw up a neon thing, because the town won't let us, okay? They won't let whoever's gonna wanna have a retail. I would never wanna have a retail thing, because those people have a serious uphill battle. Pollution, we're doing it organically, okay? We're gonna monitor stuff, we're gonna use drip irrigation, okay? We're not gonna use excessive amount of water. We're gonna be using LED lights, we're gonna use low stuff. A lot of us are already getting solar on our farms, and we're gonna start doing that stuff. Pot shop at every corner, guess what? Only one in the town of Truro. That's it, one, total, okay? Water usage, we're gonna use drip irrigation. Impaired driving, guess what, folks? Everyone's driving stoned already in this town, okay? There are already people smoking pot driving in their car. It happens already. So, you know, and the good news is, and a lot of people say, well, there's no testing for like a breathalyzer. Guess what? There is, people. You don't think that some creative MIT person's gonna develop something really quickly because the whole country is turning over to legal cannabis? There are many beta testing products going on right now in the state of Colorado. They take a little swab, they swab your saliva, they can see if you're on cocaine, methamphetamines, blah, blah, it goes all the way down the list. I think there was 23 things on their list, okay? Cannabis is one of them, okay? They're gonna be able to tell. Give them another year or two and they're gonna be in every police department, okay? So, crime. We have to be secure, we can't let people in, we have to have cameras. We have to do a lot of things. We have to have emergency call buttons that would call it, like a bank has when they're being robbed. We have to have the same thing, okay? So none of us want to get, you know, we're all worried about crime. I mean, I would imagine every grower, most of them have left, but I'm concerned, okay? I'm gonna be running a cash business because the state and the feds won't let us use our money except one bank that we know of. So we're all gonna be driving to one bank, I think. Financial impact on town services. Who's concerned about that in this town? All right. I would think that you'd want to be concerned about, is this industry going to impact our town services? Are we going to have to hire 5 new police officers? Are we going to have 5 new cruisers? Okay. What kind of impact is this industry going to have on the town? Okay. So those are all issues that get addressed with what's called the host community agreement. Okay, we have to pay, the town has to account for how they're going to need the money from our business, okay? They can't just extort us and say we need $200,000 a year, okay? They can't do that, okay? They can get 3% of our gross income for 5 years. That's it, okay? So, and they have to prove the money that they're gonna need to take care of this impact on town services. So the medical model that's here had no restrictions. So those folks got totally host community agreement reamed. Okay, they got really. I mean, there's some in Holyoke that are paying almost $100,000 a year. Okay, to just have their business in that town. So, but is that business really impacting $100,000 a year to the town? No, it's really not. So it has to be proven. Okay, so that is the list that we came up with one day when we were sitting around in one of our meetings that we have all the time now. And a lot of us are getting tired of these meetings, but we have meetings all the time. If there are other concerns that pops in your head, please contact one of us, okay? We can begin to discuss the situation. We are totally here, okay, for everyone to talk to. They're not here, but I'm really grateful that well, Bob left real early, but we had 2 of our Board of Selectmen here. And they're the ones that need the education the most. Okay, we have 1 remaining planning board member here. We had one for a minute or 2 and he left quickly. 2, and then Bruce left later that. But we had 3 at one point, okay? So, no, maybe we had 4. But, you know, the planning board showed up to learn, okay? A couple of the selectmen came to learn. Hopefully the other selectmen are gonna read the regulations. And I'm glad Bob is up to page 80, but I hope he finishes it. And he seemed disillusioned pretty quickly and didn't even get to give our co-op a chance to speak. He left after Adam spoke, okay? So that's a shame, and I hope that we can, you know, begin the discussion with him in a more adult manner, let's say, okay? So these are the people I want to thank. Cannabis Control Commission. I don't know if I want to thank them, but they've done a great job. They've done a great job, but I can tell they're going to be in my you-know-what for a long time to come. You're a fantastic group, okay? Regular state jobs, okay? We've got, if you want to copy that down, but you can always just go to the CCC website and all the documents are there. And you can go back and look at archives. Like I've been to a lot of, since September, I've been to a lot of meetings at the State House, all over the state with the CCC. I've done everything I can possibly do. Literally, thousands of my hours have gone to learn about these regulations so I can make sure it's appropriate for this town, okay? That I've done on my own, with help of my committee and my group. But all the documents are there from the very beginning, all their documents. If you could watch the debate, you can watch the discussions on video. The CCC has everything been recorded. And that's great because when you read that document, it's very black and white and really kind of annoying, okay? But if you watch the videos and you hear the backstory and the debates, okay, that's the interesting part. When they're not agreeing with something and then they have to come to an agreement and they have to discuss it. That interaction, and I don't know how many, hundreds of hours of your tape I've watched, okay? But that helped me learn a lot about this industry. A lot more than I can read between the lines in that, on that regulation document because I've spent so much time. So go to the CCC, read the regulations, tell all your friends in Truro to read the regulations, okay? We have one more opportunity to educate the public. We've been on the radio twice. We've done newspaper articles. We've held an open meeting for the town. We've advertised it, all sorts of places. We are transparent. We want to work with the town, and we've been trying to, actually since December, folks, okay? Go ahead.
Just had constructive criticism, if you'll allow me.
I love constructive criticism.
You keep saying that the most important thing that you wish everybody saw before they left was the flow chart. Personally, I think the most important thing that you were giving us all information is what all the components of marijuana does positively for people. That really is, I think,
medically speaking.
Yes,
yeah,
I think
it's huge.
Especially for people that are, this is all new or was a no-no in their life.
Yeah.
Much more important than the flow chart. The flow chart is the business area of it.
But you have to humanize it.
It does address
exactly.
The flow chart certainly addresses a lot of the concerns of like how the product is going to move.
But to get that other information out there would be really
we certainly
good.
have. I mean, Deb is, she's an advocate for it. John obviously has been a benefit from medical cannabis. My business partner Tim and I plan on selling a lot of our product to the medical research. Our bylaws on our co-op mandates that we divert money towards medical research. Okay, so as a group, we're committed to that deeply. Okay, we've got Peter who uses it medically, John uses it medically, Tim uses it medically. Okay, there's a lot of benefits medically, and we do realize that. So I appreciate your constructive criticism. Your constructive criticism is fabulous. We have one more opportunity to educate the town, and unfortunately, it's on the floor of town meeting. Okay, so it's not the best place to teach people, but we have tried. But we have tried. We have done our due diligence. We have studied. We have researched. We have talked to more lawyers than you can think of. Okay, so we have done our work. We have dotted our I's and crossed our T's. So you can find out more information about us on our Facebook page, Facebook Dune Craft Cooperative. We also started a Facebook page that is just for getting your questions and concerns answered. You can go on that Facebook page, ask your question, and we will answer it. Okay? And if we don't have the answers, well, we're going to go back to the CCC's regulations and find the answer in the regulations, because everyone's concerns are actually all in the regulations. So thank you all for coming. It's 8:30. Who thought it would take this long? Paul, thank you for staying with the planning board. I really appreciate that.
Really
It means
appreciate
a lot to me. Thank you, and we'll thank the library. So, we got a packet.
library.